He's going to present you a little bit what the Institute does, and we're going to present you the projects, and we're going to have the time to also comment on the content of these projects. So first, I'm going to give the floor to Didier Vancutsem, which is one of the directors. Didier, please. Yes, yes.
Okay. So welcome to this nice exercise, and I think Gisela was an icebreaker. Very good. So you may wonder, what is the ISOCARP Institute? Okay, and you can see it here on the screen. What is the ISOCARP Institute in relation to the ISOCARP Society? So you heard a lot about society, but not very much about the institute in itself. And the institute started 2016 only, so it's a kind of very young organization. Yeah, we are in basically a startup. So it was founded 2016. Of course, ISOCARP, it's a long tradition, 1965. Okay, and only after 2 years' time, 2018, we started with the first project, which was European research projects. So in a sense, ISOCARP Institute is a startup. Okay, we are still in the starting phase. Yeah, and what are the aims of this ISOCARP Institute? Is focusing on service delivery, focusing on research, focusing on capacity building, and focusing on practice. So we inherited the projects from the society, yeah, like the UPADs, the urban planning advisory teams. We also, with the Institute, we were developing collaboration project related, talking about professional excellence, offering training. So that was one idea of this ISOCARP Institute, and also talking about awareness in urban planning. So as a young organization, so we started 2018, I told you, with the first EU project. 2 years later, 2020, we got another EU project, and 2021, the third one. And all these projects are focusing on smart planning, on urban planning, on nature-based solutions, on on energy also, and also talking about nature-based solutions and talking about smart solutions and about planning. These are the three projects going to be presented later on. Yeah, maybe we can have the next slide. Maybe not. Yes, and this is the relationship when you see when you think about the society and about the institute, how it is as a kind of the institute has been developed and has been established 2016. I told you, as a foundation. So it's a Dutch foundation located in the Netherlands at the same premises as the society. And we are integrating both entities and working together, sharing the spaces, the working spaces, and sharing also the staff and also the actions, in fact. Yeah. And if you see what the society is doing, and you saw it in the last hours and days, the society is focusing on congress, on memberships, and on publications. Yeah. And here the institute is focusing on the practice, on the academy, and on the research. And when we are talking about EU projects and research projects on the European level, this is this branch, or this is this pillar. On the pillar of academy, we have, we are trying to develop some capacity building programs. So online training, for example. And in the practice pillar, we are focusing on UPADs, on workshops, technical assistance, review of projects, review of publications, for example, and always involving the membership. So this is the main idea here, is that when the projects are starting up, in, for example, the UPADs, or when we have the capacity building, we are looking for, or the Institute is looking for members, so we can include the members in the processes. This is the idea. Yeah, but as a startup, again, it's always, yes, it's not easy to keep all these movement and all these ideas, you know, running. Okay, that's it. And now I think we can move to the project presentations.
Yes, so we're going to have a panel presentation. We're going to have some people online that couldn't join us today here in Doha, but we have somebody also physically here. So first we're going to start with the online presentations. I'm going to present them. We're going to have, as Didier mentioned, our three main projects at ISOCARP Institute. One is Positive CityxChange that started in 2018 and is expected to end in 2023. Positive CityxChange is a smart city project and was granted by the European Union's Horizon 2020. It brings two lighthouse cities, Trondheim in Norway and Limerick in Ireland. So they also have follower cities, which is Alba Iulia in Romania, Pišek in Czech Republic, Vodu in Estonia, Smolyan in Bulgaria, and Sestao in Spain. So they will underline their ambition to achieve sustainable urban ecosystems that have zero emissions and establish a 100% renewable energy city region by 2050. A very challenging project indeed. Please, I'd like to maybe welcome our first speaker, Dr. Dirk Ahlers. He's a senior researcher at NTNU in Norway and a project manager for the Positive CityxChange. In addition to this, he's a research manager at the Smart Sustainable Cities Group of the Department of Architecture and Planning. With a background in computer science, Dr. Ahlers has extensive research experience in the fields of urban intelligence, knowledge management, mobility and geospatial analysis, emission monitoring, and smart cities. So if my technical team could please help me to put Dirk on the screen. And I hope Dirk can hear us. Dirk, please talk so we can test if we can hear you as well. I think you're talking, but we cannot hear you yet.
Then you should be hearing me now.
With us.
If that's not working, I don't know why it worked before.
Not yet.
It works on my side. I think the other people online can also hear me.
I think it's the audio.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Online, it works.
No.
Yes, online it works.
So you must have not connected the local speaker to the camera or to whatever, wherever I'm coming out of.
Can you speak, Dirk?
Yes, I'm here.
No, we can.
No, but I'm speaking.
Can you keep talking?
I'm just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is what happens if you test somehow. Is someone reading the chat here, or is someone online?
Okay. Yes. We can hear you, Dirk. Perfect.
Okay.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Could you please start?
Yes, absolutely. So now I seem to be connected to the right speaker. Welcome, everyone. Gisela has done a wonderful introduction, so I don't need to say anything else apart from, the actual content of this. I'm sorry I couldn't be in Doha personally, but I think there are good reasons why that is all a bit difficult for us. Nice to see so many of you still there locally. I will present the CityxChange project. As Gisela said, this is a European lighthouse project with overall 7 cities. And it's a really large project, 32 partners over 5 years. with around 30 million in overall project volume. I'm just going to pick out a few specific items here that are of interest. I hope there is much more content than on our website and then all the other dissemination that we're doing. And then let me start here. This is just, again, the map of the cities that we are working with. So in Norway and Ireland are our lighthouse cities, and then the replication and the kind of validation of the solutions is happening in distributed over the rest of Europe. We have overall 32 partners crossing all necessary domains for smart city and energy projects. These are the cities themselves, it's the local energy partners, it's energy providers, software companies, it's mobility providers, it's academia, so us as the university, the other University of Limerick for the other lighthouse city, and quite a number of cross-cutting partners as well, including then also ISOCARP Institute that is dealing with a lot of the outreach and dissemination work that they coordinate, which is also why we are happy to be invited here. And also they are also working on the city strategies, which I will showcase later. The main goal of this project is around the energy transition and about a specific piece that the European Commission wants us to investigate and test and deploy locally. It's positive energy blocks and districts. The simple idea here is to have local urban areas that generate more renewable energy than they need themselves. So this is kind of the scale up from zero energy or plus energy building to scale that up to the neighborhood or district level with all the connections and interfaces and all the other needs that are coming then together when you abstract from the buildings. So the sharing of energy between the buildings, the sharing of storage, the sharing of generation between buildings, the integration of the citizens, of other stakeholders, the integration of mobility needs that are coming up, and then also the integration into urban planning. So if we know we have to upgrade our cities, we have a really urgent need around climate change and climate action, as we've seen in the latest IPCC report, in COP that's currently happening. So how do we accelerate this overall transition, and how do we make sure that that is being done in a way that it is locally done, that the cities can be put in the driver's seat, they can drive this. And then the idea is to kind of start from hubs where you can do this easily and quickly, and then scale this up to include other areas of the city, from quite new buildings where you have a lot of options to get them positive, to get them to generate more electricity and heat and everything else you need, and to kind of also carry the other ones. So you don't have to wait for the whole renovation wave to actually be done, because it will take forever. So this combines quite a lot of different aspects of the overall aspects of the energy transition in kind of a hyper-local approach that locally scales out and that also should be replicable across Europe. One part that we do this to make it a bit easier to start is we're starting from hubs, from hub buildings. On the left side, that is Powerhouse Brattøra in Trondheim in Norway. That already is a quite positive energy building, not just on the actual use, but also over the whole life cycle. It is extremely energy efficient, is covered in solar panels, has multiple heat pumps to the fjord and a lot of other measures. So this one has the question, what do you do with the surplus energy, which will be a question that will come up more and more as new building standards are changing to have this generation. And we have a few other cases in the other cities as well, where key buildings are being retrofitted or are done or are rebuilt to BREEAM Excellent or BREEAM Platinum or something like that status, and will generate more electricity. What do you do with it? How do you integrate the neighborhood into that? How do you make that an integral part of the transition that is needed? And one of the aspects that we're using quite strongly and that we're relying on is co-creation and open innovation, to bring all the local stakeholders in, to also bring the local citizens in, because this type of approach, this type of transition needs quite a lot of domain expertise. It needs a lot of local and overall partners included to actually be able to make this happen, and also to bring this down to the citizens, to engage them, to raise awareness of this, to enable also co-creation, for us to be able to include ideas that come from the citizens beyond the normal participation processes that are happening. And then one of the ways we're doing that specific part is urban innovation spaces and urban innovation labs, kind of using the city as a lab and to activate the innovation ecosystem. In the case of Trondheim, we have at the moment 4 different innovation labs in the city in the different areas that we work with, plus a central space that is used both as a shared project office and as a joint innovation space for the overall city transitions, and then individual showrooms and engagement spaces in the different areas we work here. And this is part of how we are dealing with that. For the other cities, we will have something similar, different spatial distribution or different content that is being made there. So we have an upcoming deliverable on that kind of describes how we are actually doing that, how we are conceptualizing this, and how we actually break this down to something that locally can be implemented, that can be adapted and make sense, not just for the project, because this is just a 5-year project as part of a much larger transition. So how to make this sustainable, how to make sure that also the best use comes out of this for the cities that are included. And I want to close with one thing that's quite important and that is growing in importance inside the project and outside of it, which is called the Bold City Vision Framework. This is a way to do city planning and city strategies up to 2050 as part of the overall energy transition and everything that links to it. And it's also a way of working. So this is a way also to bring the UN SDGs down to the local level and make them actionable within the cities. So you see our overall approach here. We want to have the positive energy blocks ready by the end of the project, scaling that up to positive energy districts within the city, and ideally then have select positive energy cities by 2030 to 2050. This is also part of the European strategy of having 100 positive energy cities in the next few in the next few years, up to maximum 2050, where we are also working on. And then on the side here, you see different parts that are necessary on the very high level scale. And then here we have on the right side a matrix of different activities, how to bring this together, these different phases with different activities, which has been a quite good approach to anchor these things within the cities, to get political anchoring, to also anchor it across different city and municipality districts and departments. So there is quite an extensive document on this, of how this actually can be used then to bring this energy transition and to bring the overall transition down to the way the city does business, how it links overall strategies like European and national strategies, local energy action plans, mobility plans, master plans on all these different timescales, down to which sort of workshops should we run how. So it kind of plays on all the different scales that are needed, on all the different integrations between different silos, and has been quite a good tool to be used within the lighthouse cities and within the follower cities we have, and also has been already scaled up to some other municipalities within Norway. And this is also growing, and that's also one of the parts where ISOCARP Institute is supporting this in making this actionable and localizable for the other cities we're working with and for the further scale out. So this would be my main message. It's difficult, but we can build ways that make sense for the cities themselves to be able to do this transition and to be part of that and to make it really their own. Thanks for this. This was just a very quick introduction. You find much more information on the website of the project itself, and also on us and the other projects we're doing at NTNU in all the links I'm sharing here. Thanks a lot for the attention, and I don't know if there are questions now or later. I can't hear the room.
Can we clap again so he can hear?
No, I saw it. It's fine.
Thank you. So now we have also some interaction there. Please scan the QR code or find the Menti and the pin. So we're going to be asking some questions to our panelists. So that's in the meantime, you can also write questions, insights, comments, whatever you thought, for example, of the Positive City Exchange project. So I'll be taking this into consideration while phrasing the questions. So once you have it, please give me a hand, like, okay, I have it. Okay, see one person, yes, two. And then my colleague Jonathan will share his screen. So we will have to go back to the Zoom, please. Yes. The pin code. Okay. Maybe Dirk, can you stop sharing? Okay. Yes, perfect, perfect, Jonathan. We can see the QR code as well. Yes, do we have everybody already on board? Okay, we have some great. Okay. Okay, so we have today as well Dr. Sonja Gantolier, and we have also here today with us Dr. Adriano Vicello. So we're going to be asking some questions and well, discussing a little bit about this project, about the challenges, about what can we learn and perhaps what we could bring to other projects, right? So, okay, well, you write some of these insights or some ideas, questions. I have some questions ready for Adriano, for Sonja. We have to be a bit quick because we don't want to go a little bit on over time. So I will make one question, and then we can continue. So, Dirk, this question is for you. So you were discussing about the policy divisions. Your last slide was about the policy divisions, and the policy divisions is something that CityxChange created, and we are branding it as a positive CityxChange strategy. So what would this mean? What is this? Why is this a core component? Although you mentioned something already briefly, we have one of the questions here today about this kind of citizen engagement. So I'm wondering, why is it important to have a policy divisions, and what are the challenges of these policy divisions? Perhaps we can also share some solutions, some innovative solutions here from the room. So Dirk, please, can you unmute yourself again and enlighten us?
So the both division, it's not actually our idea to label it like that. That came out of the EU call already that saw that some strategic anchoring is needed. So it's basically also an attempt to get these projects to be more sustainable and to get them more long-lived. And these are part of the overall projects of the Commission on the energy transition. So how do we bring that down? That's always quite a disconnect. And this is primarily, it was thought of as a tool to align the local strategies with the national and European ones. And it has been expanded to something that makes sense for the cities. So also this has been mostly developed, the core of this by Trondheim Kommune and Limerick City and County Council, to actually make something that works for them and that makes them enables them to actually work with this and to align their different strategies. If you're a city, you have so many different strategic documents that you have to already do locally and so many other things to consider that it kind of automatically goes into the different silos of whoever is responsible. So this is kind of a way to bridge the internal silos and to bridge the different strategic levels. So also the thing with the UN SDGs came during the project, since everyone is focusing on these now, and the EU is also basing a lot of their work on that. So we're coming from the UN SDGs down to the European, to the national level, to the local level, to all the local strategies from the cities. And again, being able to play on all these different scales and having a tool to understand and discuss it, it's really valuable. So you can actually then, you have a chance to integrate these and to not have them run in silos where you lose a lot of the connectivity and a lot of the opportunities that come if you see these as a whole and not just as individual points. And the mobility plan is being done by the mobility department, and the energy plan is done by the energy, but you need to connect them. So it's, in the end, it's a tool to break this down, but also to connect.
Thank you, Dirk, for this answer. And I think we all agree that we need this kind of citizen engagement so they understand the needs and for these developments, right? I would like to, of course, discuss this further, but I think we can do this later as well. But now I would like to move on to our next presentation. I'm going to present now Dr. Sonja Gantolier. She's a senior researcher at EURAC Research and a project coordinator of JUSTNature. JUSTNature is the next project we're going to present, by the way. She has a background in ecology, environmental economics, policy and spatial planning from the Technical University Munich, Vienna University and Vienna University of Economics and Business. Sonja has extensive research and advisory experience in the field of environmental policy. She's currently focused on the integration of nature-based solutions, environmental policy and governance issues. Sonja, please let us know if you can hear us and if we can hear you.
I just have to find the unmute button. That's the usual issue.
Yes,
but,
okay.
One of those challenges. No, thank you very much for the nice introduction and also being able to present and introduce today JUSTNature. And of course, I would have loved also to be there, particularly because I know later on you will actually have the opportunity to discuss some of the insights and having some working tables and things like that. So I would really have enjoyed to actually join you with regard to that, but I hope I get some insights on what comes out of it as well. With regard to the project JUSTNature, something that was previously mentioned, it's actually one of the youngest, let's say now, that has kicked off. So the kickoff meeting has just recently taken place in September this year. So you have to cope with me or bear with me also with regard to the insights I will be able to provide you because as said, it just recently kicked off. So it's all about of course, what we envisage to do and what our aim and objectives are, and particularly with regard, as the title says, to the activation of nature-based solutions with a key focus on a low carbon transition, which is also just. So quite a heavy topic in this regard, but that's also, let's say, the name included in the name of JUSTNature, and so providing you some insights what that actually means and how it shapes our ideas. I don't know I think many of you are already quite aware of the different discussions that are circulating around nature-based solutions. They have been also recently quite discussed as part of the COP26 in Glasgow. Of course, the concept of nature-based solution has been quite entering the urban policy and also planning stage. And of course, with regard to different objectives, particularly when it comes to climate change adaptation. But what it actually means, I hope I have not provided here an overall definition, which has, for example, been provided by the International Union for Nature Conservation, working quite on the concept of nature-based solution. But what you can see here in the actual picture or graphic is kind of, it explains of what it envisaged or what it actually includes. And that is basically developing different elements, particularly at the urban level, that can be basic elements like urban parks. It can be combined green and gray elements like green roofs as well as green walls, but also connecting elements such as river systems and focusing also on, let's say, greening certain streets and roads. And with the aim or the overall objective to actually address some social challenges, and particularly due to the ecosystem services that it is envisaged to provide. So, for example, cultural, regulative, as well as supportive ecosystem services, but particularly also to contribute at the same time to climate change mitigation as well as adaptation. So this is at least framing concept. At the same time, one of the overall objectives is also to contribute to halt the loss of biodiversity as well. So it's kind of combining the climate change agenda as well as the biodiversity policy agenda as well. Of course, as said, its aim is actually to address different social challenges. And with regard to JUSTNature, we had a clear focus on some defined problems or puzzles that actually strike us as quite important and as such lay at the basis of this project. And that is for once that particularly income and wealth inequalities but also discriminations continuously or increasingly appear, particularly as driver of urban spatial disparities. So that might actually reflect in segregated neighborhoods, for example, as such. But also that at the same time, we have increasingly dispersed and isolated urban elements of high biodiversity value, but also with regard to actually some, I usually call it flagship urban green, because of course they are highly attractive also for recreational purposes and are sometimes secluded within defined areas of the cities. And also those areas and across the cities, the spatial disparities are reflected also that different neighborhoods are differently impacted by urban transformation processes, with urban green sometimes particularly informal one disappearing, whereas in other areas are quite prominently figuring as such. And of course, something that we take into account as well is that environmental and climate impacts are not distributed evenly across the city. That both regards who is actually contributing to the changing climate, as well as then suffering with regard to the impacts of a changing climate. And of course, these are the underlying problems or puzzles that we are trying at least to address as part of the project. Nature-based solutions have been around for quite a while, as I said, and it was hoped that particularly how it has been conceived and maybe also strategically planned, that it allows a wider availability and access to nature's benefits, also with regard to climate change mitigation, climate resilience, but also with regard to social cohesion and social inclusion. However, some of the things that came out from the different projects that have been already circulating for quite a while, that there is quite a gap between theory and practice, that often they are highly selective, fast-tracked and piecemeal, usually based on preferences. So wants, what I usually say, rather than needs. And we can actually come back to that if you're keen to further discuss. But also partially inclusive and biodiversity particularly seen as often a byproduct when it comes to implementing them. And that brings us to the overall aim of JUSTNature. It's quite a bold one as well. And we use it also as an ethical compass because we think you're probably also as a practitioner quite familiar of the need of an ethical compass, particularly when it comes to implementing certain aspects and taking them into consideration. And of course, with regard to the activation of nature-based solution and to ensure a just transition, we refer to the principle of the right to ecological space. And that particularly our focus is on the right to clean air and indoor and outdoor thermal comfort for human health and well-being, but also thriving biodiversity and ecosystems. But also we refer to the duty of not constraining the ecological space of others. And that refers particularly to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And that kind of frames our overall activities with regard to the project. And this just a very snapshot overview. Of course, as said, the things we are focusing on the direct greenhouse gas mitigation, you see at the very top of this figure. The indirect greenhouse gas mitigation as well, that, for example, also goes in line if you're implementing green roofs, how that might actually improve also the efficiency of renewable energy production, photovoltaics and things like that. But also direct air quality increase and combating air pollution. I thought we also look into further aspects and taking into account actually the multifunctionality of the nature-based solutions. And those are going to be implemented as part of city practice labs, we have called them CityxChange. Why practice labs? Because, of course, the community there will actually be quite a key part of actually implementing the nature-based solutions, from conserving to restoring, to actually managing, to also creating new solutions with regard to that. And what does that mean with regard to the justice components? We particularly with regard to the just transformation, will look into how the different benefits are going to be distributed across the city. also into empowerment strategies, but also gender aspects as well. And at the same time, taking into consideration 4 innovation dimensions, effective governance, enabling also business models and market design, at the same time taking into account small businesses and social entrepreneurship in particular, but also long-term maintenance. So not just developing it, but also who maintains those nature-based solutions or the green infrastructure laying beneath, and efficient technologies and applications. And as said, and here I'm just providing some very brief examples of what we are going to do. Ethical compass, as I have said, that frames of kind of the key components of the analysis, but also actions we are going to take. And these are the key questions we are usually asking. So distributional justice, who gets what? Procedural justice, who gets asked? And recognition justice, who gets asked actually how? And of course, we have different components taking that into account, or different activities. Like for distributional justice, we are going to develop spatial disparities profiles across the city to understand whether there are some neighborhoods that are better off and some are worse off, particularly both with regard to air pollution, for example, but also with regard to the distribution of urban green. We are looking also into developing more integrative circular monitoring approach and incorporating that into digital twins as well. But of course, also the procedural justice, we are going to look into the whole NBS co-governance system. So how to actually include that and develop that, not just with regard to a co-design or co-shaping, but really with regard to the governance over the long term of these solutions. And also to develop nature building communities as such. But we are not forgetting about the technology part, the technological part, but that's going to support basically those activities by actually developing an NBS platform. And a recognition justice, who gets asked, gender inclusive design, as well as social entrepreneurship. We have an entrepreneurial activation process that will occur locally as well. And I'm just stopping there. The important thing, what we will also do across those different activities, also try to visualize power dynamics. So to what extent maybe some are have voices are more listened to than others, or some have more resources to actually contribute to the shaping of those processes. And of course, trying to visualize that as well. That just to provide you very brief insight in some of the activities we're doing, not all of them. And of course, we have different partners on board, including the ISOCARP Institute involved here as well. And it's not just me. So basically, I've just the honor to actually introduce the project today. With regard to the cities involved, we have the city of Leuven, we have the city of Munich, we have actually the city of Merano and Bolzano in Italy. We have Sombotley in Hungary, and also Achania and Xira as well on Malta. And those are the different partners actually going to be involved as part of the project as well. That's all from my side, and looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Sonja. Thank you for your time and for presenting JUSTNature. Indeed, it just started, so thank you for joining us. Okay, so given the time that we have, Sonja, unfortunately, we do not have time to ask questions. Unfortunately, we have in half an hour a plenary meeting for the ISOCARP Society. And yeah, a lot of people will be interested also in joining that as well. So my apologies, Sonja, but we will keep this in mind, and we will try to put this also in our World Cafe. We will have a little bit of time to reflect on that. And we will of course tell you later when we're back in the Netherlands about the amazing insights that today we're going to be discussing. Thank you. So finally, to finalize the round of presentations, I have here with us, here we have it on site, thankfully. I'm just going to present him as well. We have Dr. Adriano Vicello. Can we please put back the presentation? Yes. Dr. Adriano Vicello is a senior researcher and project manager with the Institute of Renewable Energy at EURAC Research. Italy. Adriano's activity ranges from local to European funded projects in the field of smart cities and energy transition, with a focus of multiple benefit and urban innovation. He served as a scientific board member of international scientific conferences and co-authored several research articles and book chapters. Adriano graduated in urban and regional planning at the University EUAV of Venice and holds a PhD in real estate economics and appraisal at the University of Padua, Italy. Please, warm welcome to our last presentation. It's going to be about bar cities. Bar Cities is also a European funded project. 2020-2025 is an ambitious project that puts citizens at the human communities and at the center of future cities vision. 8 European pilot cities from different climate regions are testing and implement a series of nature-based solutions and visionary actions that support creativity, inclusivity, health, and happiness in a holistic way. Thank you, Adriano. Here's your thing and the microphone.
Thank you, Gisela. You already said everything, so I can stop here the presentation to save time. So, on one hand, the positive energy district, the smart city approach, so answering the urban needs and challenging by using latest technologies, devices, digital integration, modeling, and so on. On the other hand, nature-based solution, so sustainable city approach, using nature, water, trees, restoring ecosystem, and so on. It seems they are on 2 parallel lines, 2 different approaches that will never met at the infinite. But then came VAR cities, and everything changed. So that's not the true story, of course. That's a joke, but to some extent, not so different from the reality. VAR cities has a very nice logo, which is taking together some elements. The future city vision, so healthier and sustainable cities, the green public spaces, the tree, the water, and some technologies, devices, interconnected system coming from the smart city approach. But what is in the center? It's the humankind. So putting cities and the human communities at the center of the city's vision. It works or not? So a brief overview of the project. It is an Horizon 2020 project with a quite nice budget in order also to implement some solutions and not only producing reports and modeling. It started exactly 1 year ago. So we are in the initial phase of the project with 25 different partners and coordinated by the Technical University of Crete, the Telecommunication System Institute, which is also in JUSTNature, and with 8 pilot cities willing to test, to physically implement some solution to modify urban spaces. You see here the different location of the various cities, ranging from cities in the south of Europe to those in the northern, Skellefteå and Bergen in Norway. So it's a very nice constellation of these different climate conditions, different size of cities. The small city of Castelfranco Veneto in Italy is also a pilot case. So it's something that we try to combine together in order to test different approaches, different social situation, and also different urban spaces that are involved in this project. So the final aim, the vision of the project is related to increasing health and well-being of citizens. It's not about restoring ecosystem, it's not about saving energy, but it's putting health and well-being at the center of the action. Thanks to exploiting nature-based solution, coupled, integrated with digital system and application and devices, and also taking the social and cultural perspective on board. You are moving.
Yeah, so if you say next slide.
I do so, and you move the slide.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's technical integration. Okay, I will speed up. So the main objectives of the project are related to designing visionary solutions, so testing something that has never been done before, assuming governance, business, and financing model as a reference in order to replicate such approach in the future, and having a strong co-design process, clustering with other European initiatives, and putting the cities that are already in the project and other cities within this healthy cities helix, which is something that we already started to develop. Thank you. You see the different cities are clustered according to different scales, different urban contexts, so parks, regeneration and stakeholders involvement, and urban gardening. Thank you. And quite a lot of different solutions that are tested, combining different elements coming from nature and from digital technologies. Also considering some special needs of people and categories of stakeholders that are included in the project. Yeah, please go ahead. These are some of the achievements of the first year of the project. We mainly contributed as EURAC research in the initial phase of data collection and construction of databases to set up the status quo of the situation in the different cities, and then the elaboration of some guidelines for sketching the solution, for passing from visionary ideas to projects that could be implemented in the short time of the project. Co-identification, co-design, co-implementation, and co-evaluation are the keywords that we would like to follow in the implementation phase of the project from now onwards. And everything will be not only practically implemented in the demo sites, but also replicated into a digital twin system with a dashboard that will allow users to interact, to pick up some information, and to monitor how things will change in such urban spaces. Yeah, we can go ahead. Yeah. About the monitoring and evaluation of the project, we would like to take into account some reference framework that have been already designed by some nature-based solution project, but also integrating that with what we call multiple benefits approach. So considering more in depth who is affected by the decision, by what, how much, when, and what are the values that we are delivering to the stakeholders thanks to this visionary solution approach. Okay. And everything should be finally translated into a commercialization and exploitation solution to foster the development of societal social activities and enterprises. In the last slide, you will see the partners that are contributing to the project. And here you will find some context to keep in touch and to follow the activities of the project. Last slide. A small advertising. If you are willing to travel to Italy next summer and enjoy us in the SSPCR, where SS is smart and sustainable, PCR is not related to COVID test, but is planning for cities and regions. I will invite you all to join us in Italy for the next summer edition. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriano. Thank you all the online participants as well. Now we will move on to the on-site. So we will close now the online, but I would like to thank Dirk, Sonja, and our colleague Jonathan Thank you very much for helping us technically from the Netherlands. Very nice. And well, we will continue. And of course, we will share with you everything that we are going to gather today. So thank you. I see also Monica here. Hi, Monica. Thank you very much, Monica, as well. Okay, so we will start now with the World Cafe. Bear with us with the time. We have about 25 minutes, more or less.